You've seen it, even if you didn't know its name. That bright red cap with white dots, the kind of mushroom that doesn't just glow, it poses like it knows it's famous. The one you saw in storybooks, in Mario Brothers, in a tea towel, on your Pilates instructor's t-shirt. Amanita muscaria, the most iconic mushroom on earth. Hi, I'm Tatyana Voloshin, and this is the Unidelics channel. This whole series is based on the microdosing guide I just wrote, covering everything in depth, chapter by chapter. If you want the full guide, you can find it on our website at unidelics.com. These days, Amanita is showing up in capsules, in supplements, and Instagram reels about natural nootropics. People are microdosing it, selling it, foraging it. Some are even nibbling it raw, like it's some kind of enchanted trail mix. But here's the question that comes up every time. Why are people buying Amanita if it's literally growing on the side of a trail? It's a fair question, and it's the one I started with too. Because yes, Amanita grows everywhere. But as I found out, not all Amanita is created equal. What most people don't realize is this. That mushroom in your local forest, the one that your dog sniffs every fall, it's probably not the Amanita you think it is. Amanita muscaria isn't one mushroom, it's a species complex, and depending on where it grows and what trees it grows with and what's in the soil, it can act like a gentle nervous system guide or like a neurochemical chaos grenade. Most of what you find in the US is not the Siberian or Ukrainian or Scandinavian version that traditional spiritual use is based on. It's its cousin. Chisovi, if you're on the East Coast, yellow-orange, less potent, or Flavivolvata, if you're out west. Close in color, but still chemically unpredictable. Are they psychoactive? Sometimes. Are they safe? Not necessarily. Are they consistent? Never. And that's just the biological side, because Amanita isn't grown, it's gathered. And that means whatever was in the ground, minerals, metals, pollutants, end up in your capsule. So when people say, I tried Amanita and it didn't work, what they really mean is, I took something that looked like magic mushroom and felt like a brain fog smoothie. The magic of Amanita doesn't live in a cap. It lives in the forest it came from. And if that forest is polluted, disturbed, or treated like a production site, you're not taking medicine. You're taking mushrooms that are confused, stressed, and saturated with whatever toxins were in the soil. So yes, Amanita grows everywhere. But no, you can't just pick it and call it healing, because not all Amanita is created equal. And if the source isn't right, the experience won't be either. Let's get something straight. Amanita muscaria is not a supplement. It's not an herb. It's not something you grow in a greenhouse next to your kale. It's a forest. It lives underground, wrapped around the roots of birch, pine, spruce, invisible, quiet, ancient. Amanita is what's called ectomycorrhizal, which is a fancy way of saying it doesn't grow alone. It's in a relationship with the trees, with the soil, with the weather, with time. And you, when you swallow a capsule, you're swallowing all of it, not just the mushroom, the forest it came from, the minerals, the metals, the microbes, the mood. That's why this isn't some boutique mushroom you can farm. You cannot grow Amanita in a lab. People have tried. Oh, they tried. Biotech bros, amateur mycologists, millionaire startups with soil shipped by the ton. Failure. Every time. Because you cannot recreate an old growth ecosystem under fluorescent light. You cannot 3D print a forest. So what does that mean for you? It means if someone is selling you mass-produced Amanita, they're lying. If someone says they've cultivated it, they haven't. They either picked it or faked it. And even picking it isn't simple. Let's talk timing. Every year around June, the internet floods with photos. Young amanitas popping up, round, perfect, bright red, like cartoon bombs. Everyone gets excited. People start foraging, selling, drying them in their ovens. That's a mistake, because young amanitas are chemically wrong. They're high in botanic acid, the compound that causes nausea, tremors, and anxiety. What you want is muscimol, the compound that calms the nervous system, resets sleep, restores balance, but that only appears when the mushroom is fully matured, usually late summer to early fall, and even then, only with proper drying. That's why we're not harvesting right now, not selling this year's crop. We wait. Because mushrooms are not ripe when they look cute. They're ripe when they've done their job underground, when they finished listening to the forest. This is not a race to market. It's a seasonal ritual. You don't pick a baby mushroom, dry it like beef jerky, and call it wellness. And once they are picked, you cannot just chug them in a dehydrator and hope for the best. Dry them too cold, botanic acid stays. Too hot, compounds break down. Too wet, mold. Too fast, useless. So yes, you can do it yourself. If you want to gamble with your liver, your nerves, your sense of time, or you can trust the people who've done it for generations. The ones who know when to pick, how to dry, where to test, and most importantly, when to wait. Because you're not just buying a mushroom, you're buying a moment in the forest, condensed into a capsule. And the question is, which forest do you want in your bloodstream? Let's talk about muscimol. That's the compound everyone wants, the one responsible for Amanita's signature effect: relaxation, clarity, deep sleep, nervous system reset. So naturally, the pharmaceutical world looked at Amanita and said, cool story, let's reduce you to a molecule and call it progress. They're trying and failing. Because here's the problem, Amanita is not just muscimol. It's a whole chemical orchestra, dozen of compounds, some understood, some not. The muscimol-only extracts you see floating around, sedating, yes, but flat, blunt, missing the nuance. No lift, no glow, no restoration. Just knock you out chemistry wrapped in a clinical white labels. It's the mushroom equivalent of turning the forest into a cardboard-scented candle and calling it nature. Technically accurate, spiritually bankrupt. And here's the twist. Even if the farmer wanted to mass produce Amanita properly, they can't. Because as we said before, you cannot grow it. It refuses. Amanita muscaria is not farmable. You cannot cultivate it in trees. You cannot raise it in a climate-controlled greenhouses. It's not shiitake. You can't even transplant the soil and hope for the best, because the ecosystem it needs is too complex. It's not just dirt, it's trees, fungi, roots, rain, shadow, age. It's the patience of undisturbed land. That's why in countries like Canada, where Amanita is technically legal and even FDA approved, the companies trying to commercialize it are struggling. They were granted permission to produce, but they can't find the source. They can't guarantee consistency, and they cannot test fast enough. Because Amanita doesn't care about their timelines, and it doesn't show up on demand. So what do? They pivot. They extract muscimol in a lab. They strip out the rest. They sell it as clean, as pure, as if purity means effectiveness. But it doesn't. It just means incomplete. The truth is, Amanita cannot be patented. It cannot be scaled. It cannot be stripped for parts and still work the same. It's whole, or it's useless. You either work with the forest, or you get a diluted performance enhanced in mushroom drag. So yes, you'll see muscimol sprays, you'll see Amanita gummies with one active ingredient, you will see synthetic versions isolated in beakers branded with words like focus, calm, sleep. But don't confuse those with the real thing, because the real thing does not come from the lab. It comes from the tree, from mycorrhizal roots that hum beneath the surface from mountains. I don't care what quarter it is or how many SKUs are launching. You don't take Amanita the way you take a pill. You take it like a conversation, and the forest decides what it says. Let me tell you what I did before I ever sold a single capsule. I tested 30 batches of Amanita, 30, from the US mostly. Some are picked, some from Etsy, some from Forest Witches, some from Tag Bros, all claiming to be premium. None of them were. They were awful. Not just that, dirty. We tested them. Almost every single one came back high in cadmium and mercury, neurotoxins. One had bacteria I can't even pronounce. And now they came with a handwritten note that said, infused with cosmic energy. And tested like sadness and mulch. But it wasn't just the chemistry, it was the feel. You take a mushroom that's supposed to help you reset your nervous system, and instead, you get jittery, or dull, or just weird. Like the mushroom had performance anxiety. And here's the dangerous part. Some of these batches look gorgeous. Deep red caps, beautiful white flags, straight out of the Nordic fairy tale. But when I took them, nothing. Or worse, static. Like brain fog with a pulse. That's when it really landed for me. Most people who think Amanita doesn't work have never actually had a good one. They've had contaminated caps from a forest edge, or Gisovi from a parking lot, or Flavivolvita picked in a drought year, dried in someone's toaster oven, and mailed across the country in a Ziploc bag. But then I found one. A batch from Ukraine, picked deep in the Carpathian, far from farms, far from highways, far from anything. We tested it. Clean. No heavy metals, no mold, no marketing gimmicks. I took it and everything dropped. The noise, the tension, the background stress you forget is even there, gone. Not psychedelic, not sleepy, just a line. Later, I tried the Scandinavian source, same thing, not because it was exotic, because it was clean and came from the right conglomerate of soil and trees. That's the difference. So now, I don't touch a batch unless I know the forest. We test everything, we work with the same harvesters year after year, no guessing, no mass production, no shortcuts, because this is not a supplement, it's a living thing. And if I wouldn't take it myself, I will not sell it to anyone else. Simple as that. So, you've decided not to pick a random mushroom off a trail and guess. Good. Now, here's the next question. Who do you trust to sell it to you? Because Amanita is not like buying ratio lion's mane or jar of magnesium gummies. You are not just buying a product, you're buying a relationship with a person, with a forest, with a process. And here's what actually matters. 1, have they tested it? Do they know if it's clean? Do they even bother to find out? If they can't answer it, don't buy it. 2, do they tell you where it came from? Not a magical forest, not the earth. Where exactly? What region? What country? What kind of forest? The Canadian FDA-approved only seller is struggling to maintain supply. So their site says, it's a quote, "The mushrooms we use are harvested across Europe and North America where they grow abundantly." Huh? It's like saying the grape for our vines are grown in France, Argentina, and China. And then they add, only a portion of mushrooms are harvested to make regrowth easier in the future. Sounds responsible, right? Except this is marketing bullshit. It confuses fruiting body of a mushroom with an actual organism, the mycelium. Mushrooms are just the fruit. Think of them as apples on a tree. Picking apples does not damage the tree. Regrowth does not depend on leaving caps behind. So if you see claims like that, run. They've no idea what they're talking about or worth. They just want to sell, no matter what. If they don't know or don't want to say the origin, that's a red flag. You deserve to know what land you're swallowing. 3, do they show their face and name? This one matters more than people think. Would you take a capsule from someone who won't even tell you who they are? Would you trust your nervous system to a cool-looking picture of a mushroom? If they're hiding, ask why. If they're vague, ask again. You're putting something powerful in your body. You should know who is giving it to you. And if they're not willing to stand behind it with their name, their face, their reputation, walk away. 4, do they offer support or just sell? This is a big one. Because Amanita is not a plug and play. It's not take a pill and wait for enlightenment. It works in context, with rhythm, with routine, with support. So ask, do they offer guidance? Do they help you build the microdosing protocol? Do they explain what to expect? Do they have a way for you to ask questions? Is there a real community or just a checkout page? If they sell capsules but cannot answer what to do on day 3, that's not a guide, that's a gamble. These 4 questions are enough. No mysticism, no gatekeeping, just basic. Has it been tested? Where is it from? Who is behind it? Will they help you once you start? If the answer to any of those is not clear, do not buy. This is not candy. This is nervous system work. And it should come from people who treat it that way. I'm Tatyana Voloshin, and this is the Unidelics channel. If you want real tips for your sleep, your focus, your nervous system, or your career, you'll find them here. Straightforward, useful, and grounded in research and experience. Stick around.